All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1 o'clock. We've got a few more people that are filtering in. Um, don't forget to stay all the way to the end. And I try to keep these at 45 minutes or less, so we're not going to keep you on here forever. But try and keep on to the end because we're going to give away another $50 Aubrey's gift card. Take you and somebody else out in your office to lunch and be the hero. So in other words, we'll just give everybody a couple more minutes. If you wouldn't mind, find the chat box. So at the very top, you should see where it says attendee chat. And if you would, just click in there, your name and who you're with so that I can do two things. First of all, I know who's listening. And secondly, I know that you all can hear me because I know we had a couple people that couldn't hear us for some reason last time. I'm not really sure why, because we had some people that could hear us and some that could not. So if you would, go to the top, go to the attendee chat, tell us your name and who you're with. Hey, I've got Rob here from Meredith Elkins and Feldman, their CPA firm out in oh my gosh, I forget where you guys are at. In Morristown. Yeah, out in Morristown. So we appreciate having you guys on. And then I got Dasha from
Dacia.
Bayview. Dacia, so is this one of your folks, CJ?
Yes, it is.
Okay, awesome. Where are they from? Do you know?
Washington.
Washington State, like the state of
Yes.
Washington. Okay,
Yes.
that's awesome. All right. Okay. So I know people can hear us, and we're going to go start this webinar in the presentation here in just a second. If you do have questions, please post your questions in the chat box, and I'll kind of stop CJ and just say, hey, we got a question, and we'll kind of go from there. And CJ will sure answer that, and then we'll move on. Does that sound like a good format? All right. So with me today, well, first of all, my name is Thomas Hill. I'm with CD Technology here in East Tennessee, and we take care of businesses. We take care of their IT help desk and cybersecurity support, keep you all productive by making sure that your staff are not working on computers that aren't working properly, and we also keep you safe from cyber criminals. And with me today to talk about cyber liability insurance, I have CJ with the Insurance Office of America. CJ, hello. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, if you don't mind.
Oh, so I have been in the insurance industry for over 25 years. I have been doing pretty much every different type of insurance. The only thing I haven't done is coal mining and nuclear. So everything else I have touched: financial institutions, manufacturing, marine, aviation, all of it. And I do have a certification with maritime clients, and I also specialize with aviation still, but I do a lot of high hazard, kind of the stuff that no one really wants to touch. So I get a lot of strange phone calls from a lot of different colorful businesses. So I have a lot of good examples to be able to provide.
All right. Well, we are very excited to talk about cybersecurity and why you need to be protected. So we'll go ahead and get going here.
Okay. So do you want to go to the next slide?
Oh, sure. Is that where you want to be?
Yeah, this is the title page. Let's go to the first page.
Uh-oh. That seems bad because I'm clicking through it and
it's not moving.
So you're not able to see it move?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's reshare the screen then and see if I'm going to reshare a different screen.
There we go.
Okay, can you see that screen?
I can. I'm going to blow it up so I can read it, though. Okay. So, we are on page 3 for me. How did we get here?
I'm showing page 2, so it says 101, 101.
Yeah, I'm seeing in summary. Yeah.
Okay. I don't even know what screen you're seeing then, because I don't even have that as an
It's
option on my.
page 4 is what I'm seeing.
I know, but I don't have page 4 up.
No.
Okay. Let me try and stop screen sharing again. We'll start this over. Okay, so what screen do you see now? Or what do you
The
see on the
title
screen right
page.
now? The title page? Did that forward to the next page or no?
Yes. Now I have 101.
Okay. Let's do it that way then.
Okay. So I'm considering this more of a little bit of a more intermediate kind of class, but I wanted to do a brief run through like a 101 for beginners. So make sure everybody's on the same page. Cyber liability insurance, what is it? Cyber liability insurance is an insurance policy that provides businesses with a combination of different coverage options to help protect a company from data breaches and other cybersecurity issues. There are many different cybersecurity issues, and I'm sure Tom can attest that these are just some of them that I have listed here. There's many more and new ones that come up all the time. So ransomware, malware, fileless attacks, phishing, man-in-the-middle attacks, malicious apps, denial of service, zero-day exploit. These are all just some of the more common that we have come across recently. And this is a brief description of those types of attacks. Ransomware, obviously, I'm pretty sure everyone understands that it is a type of attack that they basically hold your system at ransom, and you have to pay either Bitcoin or money to some place that they tell you to pay it in order to get a chance to get your system back. And I say chance because not all the time are they going to actually give it back to you. So, malware, malicious software, or virus that's been put into the system in one way, form, or fashion. Fileless attacks are attacks that this uses the computer's memory instead of the hard drive to execute a malicious code. Phishing, which has been the big thing, especially I know some of you probably go through different cyber trainings, and phishing's been the big one lately, where they're trying to make sure that your employees are not accepting or clicking on links that they shouldn't be because they're urging you that it's important to contact them. Maybe it's a bank or it's the police department or something is contacting you, and it's important that you click this link right now to find out what it's all about. And that's just their way of trying to get through to you to collect some information and get in your system. Man-in-the-middle attack. The attacker places themselves in between two parties as the user and the app and intercepts all the communication and data. Malicious attacks are designed to harm and exploit the user's device or data. That kind of coincides with some other different attacks, but denial of service attacks is the legitimate users are unable to access their information systems devices. It's like the internet is being held to the point where they can't get into it. It's being overloaded. So it basically keeps them from being able to use their service. And zero-day exploit is an attack that takes advantage of security flaw in the software, hardware, or firmware that is unknown to the vendor or antivirus vendors. So, and giving you that brief description of just some of those, why every small business should have a cyber liability policy. These are the more common ones, basically, but protect against cyber attacks, cost of data breaches, reputation management, business interruption coverage, compliance requirements, vendor requirements, and financial stability. We'll go more into each and every one of these, but these are definitely the main reasons why you should have a cyber policy. And there's a few of these that will go more in depth that you need to make sure that coverages are not excluded or that you're buying them back into the policy. So in summary, cyber liability insurance is a critical risk management tool for all businesses facing the increasing threat of cyber attacks. It provides financial protection, helps manage reputational damage, ensures compliance and regulatory requirements, and enhances the overall resilience of the business in the face of cyber threats.
So just a quick thing, you were kind of talking about compliance. Are you going to talk a little bit about industries that require you to have cyber liability insurance now?
I honestly did not put that into this presentation. I do know that there's definitely requirement. I kind of hit on it a little bit, but I
Okay.
don't specifically go into it.
Well, that's okay. Maybe we'll get a chance to kind of talk about some of the industries that are kind of requiring it now. But go on. Sorry.
So I wanted to put in a few charts, and I did this because I wanted to give importance as to the different sectors, the revenue size, the different things so you can literally get a visual of what's going on in the cyber industry when attacks happen. So there is a report that's done on an annual basis by Net Diligence, and it's information that's been collected over 4 various organizations, one being Experian, another BitSite, and then there's a large attorney firm and a large financial firm. And all these firms actually work with cyber claims that, breaches, different attacks that have happened, and they're all a part of helping these businesses get back into a certain way. But from 2018 to 2022 is where these reports of different 9,028 records of cyber claims came in. So this screen in particular gives you claims that are categorized in 19 different industries. So, anything from agricultural, and then of course you have an other, which is pretty much anything that doesn't fit in any of these boxes. Professional services kind of include your real estate, your attorneys, your accounting firms, tax professionals, things like that, including insurance. But I wanted to show you a chart based off of those 9,000 claims. Nano revenue is, according to this particular report, was anything less than $50 million in revenue, which is probably everybody here. And that was 42.6% of those 9,000 claims. So 42.6%, which would be all of us, are lumped into there that had cyber claims. Percentage of claims by the industry. So professional services was a part of 20% of those 9,000 claims. Healthcare was another 15%. Manufacturing 8%, financial services 8%, and retail 6%. Technology, nonprofit, public entity, you can see them all there. Like I said, other is pretty much everything that isn't lumped into those other industries, and it did make up the majority, but it's, you got all types there. But professional services was honestly one of the most alarming to me, as well as healthcare and financial services, manufacturing as well. But manufacturing affects how we get our products versus the other things that hold our actual personal identifiable information, which many of these professional services, financial services, and healthcare services do. Will you go ahead and go to the next slide? Thank you. As measured by the number of claims over this past 5 years, it'll show you that, again, professional services, healthcare, manufacturing, financial, retail. So far this year, it's still in line. It's still those things in that order: professional services, healthcare, manufacturing. They are right now making up 57% of all the claims and 60% of the incident cost for small, middle enterprises. You go ahead and go to the next thing. The professional services. See, we have a question. Do you have? I didn't quite catch that full question. Where do I see that? I'm not hearing you, Tom.
Sorry, I muted myself while I was talking to someone else. So we have a question. She's basically wanting to know, do you have any numbers for anyone making less than 10 million?
I can definitely get those numbers. It's just this particular report didn't break it down that way.
My experience has shown that the numbers are actually in line. So, in other words, what I'm saying is the numbers that I have seen show that it's still the same number. So, 20% of all healthcare, for example, that are making 2 million or less in sales, it's still 20%. So, in other words, those numbers kind of go across the board, and I think maybe that's what she's asking.
Okay. The professional services sector encompasses a broad array of organizations, including law firms, accounting, tax firms, consulting, real estate, and the average and maximum annual revenue of these firms was about the same as last year. So again, the professional services, when you think about it, and I wanted to kind of state this, your professional services have your tax people have all of your information. They have everything from your location, your mortgage, your social security, anything that your tax person needs to file for you with the IRS. People are specifically trying to engage in these kind of firms, law firms, sometimes in order to send out a complaints or to have any kind of litigation. These kind of things need to be filed, and so they would have them on in their computer as well after they scan them. This type of information is very vital. This is what they're going after. This is the type of thing they can steal identities. They can do multitudes of different things. So if you have this kind of information that you're storing in your systems, then you definitely have a due diligence to provide more cybersecurity for your clients. You can go ahead and go to the next page. So percentage of claims by cause of loss. So I wanted to show this so you could see what the most common cyber liability claims currently right now per this report are stating. And 30% of them are showing are ransomware attacks. This is still very popular. It's still going on. We hear about it every day. I know, Tom, you probably heard not that long ago about East Tennessee Children's Hospital was a big one that was hit here.
Yeah, and actually, if you don't mind me pausing you just a second, I think something that's really important to understand that a lot of people don't realize is that we hear about big attacks every day. So we hear about the Children's Hospital, we hear about the city of Knoxville, that kind of thing.
Right.
What we don't hear about is we do not hear about the 50,000 small businesses every single day that are ransom attacked. Now,
Exactly.
those amounts are typically smaller. Usually, cyber criminals are asking for somewhere between $50,000 and $250,000 ransom on those type of accounts. But you don't hear about them because it's not the millions of dollars. But that doesn't mean that your business is not at risk. It just means that it's too small to make the news. So I just
Right.
want to point that out.
So, and also, and just kind of going off of what you just said, what they also don't state is how they even how the smaller businesses actually can kind of piggyback to the larger business getting attacked. They don't necessarily point that out, that the information that maybe came from the small business that had a contract with a government agency is now been kind of the arrow that led them to a hole in the government agency somehow, some way. So um, different businesses are definitely at odds with one another, but the small businesses are easier to breach simply because most of the time a small business, especially when starting out, does not have the budget or the money to put into cybersecurity, or at least they don't put it there, I should say, like they should, because they think it's not as important as getting that website up or getting this done or getting um but at the end of the day, most of them don't pay for a cyber policy. They don't pay to have the security done just simply because they're starting out and it's a budget. So, and saying all of that, you're subject to these types of causes of loss: ransomware, your emails being compromised, hackers, theft of money, phishing attacks, which I'm pretty sure everybody's been getting and probably very annoyed with. I know I got several over the weekend, some phishing text messages, which I simply report and then delete. But these types of attacks are definitely out there. And from what we have seen, a lot of the times the way they get in through the door is usually a lack of knowledge. Maybe employees or not trained up, which would be with some cybersecurities would be able to help you in that area, getting the proper cyber training for your organization. So the type of data that they usually go for, um, critical files, of course, is going to be the first one. I mean, why beat around the bush? They're going to go for the critical files. They're going to find all the information. They're going to go and hit some of your other files, with different phishing attacks and payment card industry files and all these different things that you have in your system. They are going to go after those things. Trade secrets are definitely something. Intellectual property has come up a little bit with some of my claims. These things are not necessarily, how do I put it, intellectual property, depending on what it is. Um, if you were the first that was going to be able to do something, um, and it basically steals your ideas, and it takes the intellectual property that you have there, and they can make it known to the public. They can send it out. They can put it on the news. I've had large attacks that have done such a thing. So it is very vital that you understand the types of files that you have on hand that need to be either encrypted or only allowed certain people into those files. Only those people know how to do it, and the proper cybersecurity is put in place. Can we go to the next page? Are all cyber liability policies the same? Obviously, no. Um, you do have some policies that lump everything in together under one limit, and then you have some that actually give a multitude of limits per coverage. And then there's certain others that provide some coverage for social engineering or extortion or things like that. And there's others that absolutely exclude it. So not every policy is the same. The terms and coverage, limits and costs are definitely different between carriers as well. So some of those key factors, like we're just go back to the other page, please. So the coverage types, policy limits, exclusions, I want to make sure that you understand that cyber liability policies typically do have automatic exclusions. Some of these exclusions between policies do vary between carriers. Some of them will impact the coverage on the policy. Others you may be able to buy back, but there's definitely common exclusions, and some carriers carry their own exclusions, which can definitely take away coverage. So I'm going to go through those. Now we can go to the next page. It didn't move. No. There we go. So deductibles, like much of your other types of businesses or even your homeowners and whatnot, there's usually a deductible to your policy. What that is the amount that the business must pay out before the insurance coverage either kicks in. And sometimes if um, many times if you have a loss, they'll go ahead and take the deductible out of the amount they pay you before that. But some carriers do require you to pay the deductible before they make a payout. Different policies may have different deductible amounts, and sometimes the policies will have a deductible per each and every coverage. So it is very important that you understand your policy, that you understand how the deductibles can affect your out of pocket in the event of a cyber attack. Additional services. Some cyber liability insurance policies may offer services to policyholders, such as access to cyber risk management tools, some pre-breach services, like security assessments or employee training, some post-breach services like incident response plans or forensic investigation. These additional services can provide valuable support to businesses in preventing and managing cyber incidents. Uh, Ensure reputation and financial stability. Most people don't talk about this. It is very important. There's that saying, you get what you pay for. And that is the same with an insurance company. I can't tell you how many times I hear, and it's probably one of the biggest annoying things that I've heard is, somebody says, "Oh, I went out on the internet and I found this insurance company. I bought it and it's only like $25 a month." And it's like, great. I'm glad you got it for $25 a month, but what are they giving you? Because more than likely, you're not getting anything. So I wanted to make sure I stated that. The page went on to the next one. I wasn't done on that other page, but
Oh,
I wanted to make sure that you knew that there is a website that you can go to. It's AM Best ratings, and what it does is provide, you sign up. You have to do a login and password, but you sign in and you go into it and you can plug in the insurance company's name. Now, there may be various entities to that insurance company, but it will provide you the financial stability and reputation. So it's important to look at those. Now, when you get a proposal from an agent, they should be providing that information to you automatically.
and I'm sorry. What was the name of that site again?
AM Best Rating.
AM Best Rating. Okay.
Mhm.
And so it'll so if you go to that site and put in the insurance company, it'll kind of give you an idea of how good of an insurance company it is. Is that the idea?
Correct. It's kind of like when you go through grammar school and you get A through F,
Okay.
and A is obviously the best, but then they have A plus plus. But and it also gives you their financial stability. It tells you how many billions they have set aside for claims and whatnot. And it also tells you whether their current status is a positive one or a negative one.
Okay.
Um,
Awesome.
so in summary, we should be very careful to review and compare different cyber liability policies to ensure the best one is selected and fits the specific needs for each risk. Definitely consult with an insurance broker or advisor and to help navigate through the complexities of cyber insurance. I wanted to make sure that you understood that exposure is not just based off of your revenue. Exposure is something that is totally different, and I'll get into that a little bit more when we go through. But to give you a hint of what some of the cyber exclusions are that are included in most, but not all, insurer packages is acts of war and terrorism. That's pretty much a gimme with every policy. But some carriers will allow you to buy this back, and it is not cheap. But some contracts, especially with government agencies, will require that you have acts of war and terrorism included. So it is something that can be bought, not at a small rate, but it can be bought. Insider threats. Incidents caused by malicious or negligent actions of employees, insiders may not be covered. So I kind of go into this further with intentional acts because to me they almost go hand in hand. But 90% of the time when I sell a cyber policy, I also sell a crime policy simply because most of the time an employee is going to be looked at as an intentional act. Um, with that, if you have a cyber loss that you've incurred because of this employee, it would be construed as a crime. Now, it doesn't mean crime is going to cover all your cyber loss, but if they happen to get into your money for the business in that way, that is something that can be covered under the crime. So they do kind of cross paths slightly, which is the whole reason why we would want to have both policies together. Um,
Hey, CJ,
I'm
quick question. So
sure.
we've got someone that's asking, how often do insurers try to deny a claim uh, based on negligence, as being subjective, I guess? How often does that happen?
Honestly, if you're working with a company that's keeping up and keeping tabs on what you're doing, I'm trying to, then you're going to definitely see that if they're making sure that you're keeping up. Let's say, for instance, you have a company that's got an IT professional. They're keep taking care of your all your files and everything and keeping intruders out, then this is definitely someone who is less likely to have it. If you have someone that's having a small business, they're kind of like a one man shop. And I say this because they're typically the ones that I see the most of that kind of run into this problem where they don't necessarily do all the patches that they're supposed to, or they're not paying attention to certain things that are they should be as far as compliance goes, and then a breach happens which causes negligence to someone else or whatnot, then yeah, I mean, that's where that kind of thing normally I see a lot of that happen. um
We actually see we see a lot of times where a business will apply for a cyber liability insurance policy, and the insurance company will send them a questionnaire, and
mhm,
then the company CEO or something like that will fill out that questionnaire, but that person will just fill it out. Um, just thinking that they have everything covered. They'll click the box that says, yes, we have an incident response plan. Yes, we have two-factor authentication set up on everything. Yes, we have all of these things.
right,
And then in reality, what will end up happening a lot of times is it'll come back to bite them, because if they don't really have all those things set up, or perhaps not set up properly or completely, which is what we usually see is, people have two-factor authentication set up, but it's not mandated across the entire network, for example, then the
right.
insurance company will deny claims on that. And we have seen that pretty often. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. Also, CJ, I just wanted to point out that our time is flying by fast, and we've
I
probably only
see
have
that.
like 10 minutes. So
Okay. Okay, so pretty much everything is defined in here. Regulatory fines and penalties is the next one. It's a big one. A lot of people don't see or understand that there are certain chain of command to certain kinds of claims that happen. So each and every state has a certain way that these need to be handled. Those can be looked up, or I have it. I can provide you per your state what the regulations and penalties are for that. So you can reach out to me and I can send that to you. Let's see, third party providers, that is a coverage that can be added back to you. Physical damage is typically excluded, but if you have a manufacturing business that has a lot of AI to your equipment, that's something that can be negotiated in with specific carriers. Loss of future revenue, that is, if you have a breach, you possibly going to lose clients or contracts, and that would affect your future revenue. Acts of God, obviously. Unencrypted data, if you're sending personal information and you're not encrypting it, then you're being negligent, and that would obviously be excluded. And cost to to reputation damage, that can also be bought back in by most carriers. You can go ahead and go to the next page.
I did. Did it not?
No,
How about now?
no.
I don't know why it's lagging behind.
There we go. Now we're way too far.
Okay. Now we should be back. Are we back now?
No, we're on. Oh, what page is this? We're on. I'm seeing number 4, preserve evidence.
I'm not really sure why it's not clicking through like it's supposed to. That's really weird.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Okay, that's it. What should you
Okay.
do if you're attacked by a cyber criminal? So I will state this, and I'll go through this really quick because it's kind of reiterated here. But you want to isolate your affected systems. Hopefully you have someone on hand that's professional, or you have contract with someone to come in should you realize that you've been breached, and they can help walk you through that. But you should definitely disconnect computers from the internet, or shut down servers. This will keep it hopefully from one system compromising another system any further. But you should activate your incident response plan. And I'm sure out there, I'm having people go, "What's an incident response plan?" And I hate to hear that because it's a very vital thing. And if you don't have one, there's definitely a way to sit down and do it. But we'll kind of go through the chart through that here in just a second. But you want to notify relevant parties, senior management, IT staff, legal counsel, because there's definitely going to be people that need to know about it. And depending on what kind of field you're in, let's say you're in the maritime field and you're dealing with a port authority and you're the breach and you realize that they could be at hand, you're definitely going to need to get some federal agencies involved. So next page.
Okay.
So incident response plans, this is just a quick chart so you can get a visual of what it's supposed to do. You put an incident response team together. Whether you're a small business or big, this is definitely a plan that you may have to have multiple teams involved, but the bigger you are, but the smaller you are, this is a perfect fit. Your incident response team, and then you have each person has their specific job they do, who they need to call, what they need to report, dealing with media, if that's even a thing, and so on and so forth. And what this is going to do, if you guys put it together and try to do like a mock thing of a cyber incident happen, you will see how this will work and how quickly you can mitigate any further loss and how you can actually minimize the amount of your loss by having these in place.
And
And
one thing I wanted to point out is that your IT provider, if they specialize in cybersecurity, they would be able to help you put together an incident response plan. We have helped several of our customers do that, so just
right.
kind of keep that in mind.
So next
Okay.
page.
Okay. There you go.
Okay, so this will help preserve evidence, engage in cybersecurity incidents, contain and remediate. I would normally kind of read through this a little bit further with you. I didn't realize how
How much time
slow I
had
was.
passed so quickly?
Right. So you definitely, this is for, I put this in here, and y'all can, I don't know if you're going to send this out later to everyone that's attended, but this is
I
definitely
can.
for, yeah, that would be great. Crisis handling steps, and this was specifically for smaller businesses. It's kind of something that we give out. Now, it's not an incident response plan, but it's definitely something that would help you if you don't have something involved. Of course, I'm going to reiterate, you should have an incident response plan, but this is for now. If you don't have one, this would help you should you be breached tomorrow in the terms of the order you need to do things. So next page, please.
All right.
So insurance requirements. Let's see if I can get through this pretty quick. So most policies are going to require these types of things be in place. especially the larger you are, the more stringent they're going to be on these regular security audits.
And honestly, to be honest with you, I have seen questionnaires that have asked all of these kind of things on companies that were just $2 million companies, not
Yeah,
very large companies at all.
right,
And there is a lot on here. I'm gonna summarize this for you really quick because this is kinda in my wheelhouse.
great,
Um, Most of these things that they're talking about on here are things that your IT company is going to provide for you. Your IT company is gonna provide patch management. They're gonna provide employee awareness training and phishing simulation tests and that kind of thing. They're going to make sure your multi-factor authentication is all set up. They're going to make sure documentation is in place. Um, and again, the problem is that if you have a cyber liability insurance policy and you don't have these things in place, then and you get a breach, then
yeah,
this will be the reason why you get denied. You'll get
exactly.
denied because you do not have these things in place.
Exactly. So if you do have an IT professional that you work with, you definitely want to take this list and you want to ask them to walk you through how this works in your business because you should know. You should absolutely know. Next page,
And
please.
and and I just wanted one quick thing. I hear a lot of times when I talk to or potential customers, and they'll say, "Well, I'm sure my IT guy is doing that for me." My response is, "Okay, are they putting together at least a yearly report that is outlining that these things have been done and that it's documented?" And if your IT guy is not documenting this and presenting you with a yearly report, then they're probably not doing this. So just kind of want to let you know that.
So these were just cyber attack scenarios that I kind of put into here. So we're kind of at a safe space now, Tom, so we don't have to
Okay.
to rush so much anymore. But I realized in going through the list of attendees that there were some here that, depending on where you are, these are different attacks that have happened. Like Brookside ENT and Hearing Center is a medical practice. It was actually forced to close after this ransomware attack. And it's something that is sad to hear. And we hear it more often than don't, honestly. Especially with a small business not having the correct uh, securities in place or not doing the correct hygiene that they should for their system. A small law firm in Florida as well was targeted by ransomware. Um, the thing about this is they did have backup files, but then their backup files were compromised as well. So that kind of blew the coop there. And in order to regain um, their data, and they had to pay, and it led to a lot of financial loss and a lot of reputational harm. So their operation actually downsized, and there was a lot of downtime to that business as well.
Yeah, something that I think is important to mention is that unfortunately we see all the time where small businesses will get a ransom attack and it will put them out of business.
Yeah,
Usually, I think statistics show that 60% of all businesses that suffer a ransom attack end up closing within 5 years because of just reputational damage and just not being able to recover from the financial costs of it. So, having a cyber liability insurance policy in place is important, but also making sure that you can defend that policy by making sure that you have good, um, you know, that everything is covered. Make sure that you have the MFA turned on properly. Make sure that you've got reports showing that you're doing what you said you were going to do, because otherwise the insurance company will deny you.
right. So in saying that, when I said that exposures are important, exposures to an insurance person isn't necessarily how much revenue that you make. Exposures are how many files are you holding in your system and what do they hold?
Yeah.
That's the exposure. And that was really hard in the beginning for insurance carriers to understand how they were supposed to rate a policy to even begin with. So now that they know to ask for these certain information and exactly how what you're doing in the process to make sure that they're safe, that's how they rate it. So in
And
saying that, if you carry 500 files of different people, or maybe you have 500 employees, or, it doesn't necessarily have to be clients, but employees information in your system, that you're going to probably have a higher premium than somebody that carries five. So there's definitely a difference.
And just kind of keep in mind, the industries that require you to have this additional security in the cyber liability insurance, for that matter, in place. There's a lot of federal regulation right now. Of course, you know about HIPAA,
Hmm.
and so if you're a medical provider, you've got to have this in place. CPAs, bookkeepers, anybody
Yes.
that's dealing with financial data of individuals. Those are another person that's their federal compliance right now that has to have, good security and good liability in place.
And
Um,
recorded,
and
documented.
yeah, documented, absolutely. Okay, well, we're up against our 1:45 time limit here.
Okay.
CJ, again, say who you are and what company you're with, and how to get a hold of you if there's people that wants to ask more questions.
Well, the last page of this actually has all my contact information,
Oh,
but it is CJ Stevens. Um, I am
and I
with,
lost it.
and you lost it. So
Sorry.
you can always reach me. My email is at cj.stevens, Stevens, at ioausa.com. Or you can reach me on my cell phone at area code 813-385-8671.
And we will send out CJ's PowerPoint presentation to everybody, so her contact information will be on there if you do have specific questions about cyber liability insurance. My name is Thomas Hill, and I'm with CD Technology, and we take care of IT help desk and cyber liability problems that you might want to protect yourself from. And lastly, our $50 adult, Aubrey's gift card is going to be given out to Lisa Whitfield. And Lisa, you'll be looking in the mail for that gift card. Melissa will be sending that out to you very shortly. Anyway, we really enjoy everyone's time and appreciate the questions. And if you have any other comments or concerns or want to know more, feel free to respond back to one of the emails, and I'll make sure that you either get in touch with me or get in touch with CJ, depending on what the question is. CJ, we really appreciate your time.
Sure, no problem. If anybody has any other questions, just give me a call or email me, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it.
All right, perfect. All right, we'll see everyone later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.